We need 2 egg whites for this, so I'm going to separate the egg whites. I'm going to show you 2 methods of separating the egg whites. The first one, if you hold the egg white over a large bowl, or the egg over a large bowl, give it a sharp tap, and then divide the shells into 2 halves. You can move the yolk from one shell to the other. So I'm putting the yolk into a separate dish and the white into a separate dish. If you're not confident to do that, an easier way of doing it is if you have a plate and you crack the egg onto a plate, you can then use a pastry cutter to put over the egg, and then you can separate it into the bowl that way. Once you've got your 2 egg whites into your large mixing bowl, you can either use a stand mixer if you've got one at home. I'm going to use a hand mixer today because that's what we would use if we were in the classroom. I'm going to whisk the egg whites slowly. Once the egg white looks like this, you can see it's forming little peaks. And it's quite stiff. You can start adding the sugar to it. I've got 100 grams of caster sugar here, and I'm literally going to add it 1 spoonful at a time. So no more than that in any one go, and I'm going to sprinkle that in, and then I'm going to whisk that in really thoroughly. This is the bit that can go wrong when you're making meringues, so you must be very careful not to add the sugar too quickly, because what will happen is it will be too dense and it will then sink and cause all of the air to leave the meringues, and we don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just continue to add the sugar 1 spoonful at a time, making sure I really whisk it in well each time before I add another spoonful of sugar until I've eventually got it all incorporated. Okay, I've got all of my sugar incorporated now. You can see there's a nice sheen to the meringue, and you can see it really is has formed stiff peaks. So now I need to fill up a piping bag. I'm using quite a large nozzle for this. Top tip when you're filling up piping bags, fold the edges over so that you can hold the piping bag in your hand, and then when you're filling it up, if you put the spoonful of mixture in, you can press the spoon against the side of your hand, and it means you can get it all in without making too much mess. Once all of the mixture is in the piping bag, lift the edges up. And very carefully squeeze the mixture right down to the bottom of the piping bag so that it's filling the nozzle. You can see it's just coming out at the end there now. So at the top I'm going to just twist this round, and I'm going to be squeezing from the top when I pipe. I'm going to hold my piping bag in a vertical position. I'm only using this hand to steady the piping bag. I'm not going to squeeze from this hand at all. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pipe in circles, and then once I've done a circle I need to do a wall bit around the edge. So if you watch carefully, that's probably plenty big enough, so I'm now going to do a layer around the edge to make a little nest. There's a tiny little hole in the bottom of that one, so I'm just going to put a little dollop of meringue in the bottom there just to fill that hole. Okay, off we go again. Okay, my mixture has made me 5 meringues. Obviously it depends on how big you make the meringues as to how many you're going to get. I'm going to put these into a really low oven now, 120 degrees, for about 20-25 minutes. What we're hoping for is that they don't really colour, they stay a very light colour, but that they harden, and the temperature of the oven is just so that it almost dries out the egg in order to harden the meringues. These meringues were in the oven for just about half an hour, and you can see that they are quite hard now. They come off the paper easily and they still look quite pale in colour. Whilst the meringues are cooking, or whilst they're cooling, you can start to prepare the filling. You need to whisk some double cream in the bowl until it just holds its shape. I strongly advise you use a balloon whisk for this, like this, rather than using the electric hand mixer. It is really easy to over whip cream, and it will split very quickly if you do that. The cream needs to look like this. It's just holding its shape, but it's not over whipped. Once you've got to that stage, you're ready to move on to preparing the rest of it. So what I have done already is I have set aside some whole raspberries and a little mint leaf for the meringue I'm going to show you. I've taken some mint leaves off the stalk and I've just chopped them finely, and then I've also chopped some raspberries and strawberries together, just roughly chopped. The strawberries, obviously you need to wash these first. In order to prepare them, you need to twist and take out this top leaf bit, and then if you put your knife in vertically like that and go round in a circle, it's quite easy then to take out the middle section, and that's called hulling. So once you've got your chopped strawberries and raspberries, you're going to put those into your cream. Mix them all together. Going to also add some mint, chopped mint to that. And just to give it a little bit of sweetness, some icing sugar. So that's your filling prepared, and then you just need to take one of your meringue nests, pop some filling inside, decorate it with some whole raspberries, a little sprig of mint, and then a little dusting of icing sugar on the top.